What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through my round 4 AFL tips and predictions. As usual, we'll go through my round 3 tips and give it a bit of a review, as well as reviewing my big calls before we head into our tips. And as we have a look at round 3, and we're not happy with what we got for round 3, that is for sure. I ranked bottom 83%, which is by far the worst ranking so far this round, and you would think this is the worst score I get all year. Touch wood though, you know, it could get worse. We'll go quickly and review the game. So the Dogs and the Lions, I can let myself off with this one because most people were going to back in the Lions after the Dogs' dismal start. And to be fair, I actually expected a Dogs response, but I didn't expect them to actually end up in winning it. Now, this one's the one that I just can't really excuse myself for. I mean, let's be real. Everyone was going Collingwood. I went the minority prediction with the Tigers. I just thought they had something in them. And to be honest with you, the scoreboard certainly flattered them. They should have lost that game, but probably 6 goals. You got to back in the Pies more. And I think I will for next round. This one again, you know, an excusable tip to get incorrect. Another upset. There are a few upsets this round, that's for sure. Hawthorn getting the upper hand over the North Melbourne Kangaroos. And in this game, we finally got the first one correct. The next two actually we got correct. The Blues just getting over the line against the Giants. But that could have easily been a loss given how things played out in the last 5 minutes. I keep getting the St Kilda tips right. St Kilda, the only team that I've gotten 3 correct tips for this season. And yeah, getting the good win against the Bombers in our 150th. Another upset victory for another side in the Crows this time. I had more trust in them. I thought they'd be the better side, but it wasn't to be. And then the Sunday games, the upsets just keep on coming. This one was arguably the biggest upset of the round. The Cats, I really thought there was no way they're going 0-3. But Jesus, they're 0-3 now, and it's looking quite dire for them. The Suns getting a good upset win to avoid 0-3 start for them. And then, to be fair though, you can let me off with this one. It was really a 50-50 game. I thought the Swans, with the form that they are in, especially against Melbourne at the G, I thought they'd also get another win, but the D's are just way too good. And the Derby, honestly, at this rate, I sort of wanted to get this tip wrong just to see how many tips I could get wrong, but at least I got this one correct in tipping the Dockers over the Eagles. So a very, very dismal 3 of 9. And what we'll do now is go through my big calls for last week. And I tell you what, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed in reviewing these, but we're going to do it. So let's start it off with the Bulldogs and Lions. I said that the Bulldogs will lead at half time, and I got off to a flyer with my big call. I got that one bang on. I think they were up by around 14 points. The second game, I was really close to getting 2 in a row. I said there'd be 5 consecutive goals at any stage, but there were, well, goals were a premium in that game. And unfortunately, the most in it consecutively from any side was 4 by the Pies. And then the next game, I said that LDU would have, I think, 30 touches and 2+ goals. He got ruled out before the game even started. The Giants Carlton one, I got incorrect because I said that the Blues would score 100 at 3/4 time. Saints v Essendon, I got another big call correct because I said the Saints would be in front for 70% or more of the game, and we weren't behind for a single stage of the game. It was level at one stage, but the Bombers did not hit the lead once. The Showdown, I got another big call, very close in this one. I said that there'd be 5 or more lead changes by half time. And there were bloody 4, and there were instances where it could have been 5, but the scores are just level, so I've been pretty unlucky. Probably my worst big call this season, arguably the worst of the year could be. I said that Close and Myers would combine for 8 or more goals, and they didn't even combine for 1 goal. Like, they were just terrible. The complete 4 line for the Cats were terrible. The Melbourne v Sydney game, I said that the Swans would win after trailing by 24 or more points. There was a chance at possibly being correct because they were trailing by 24 or more points and got back in the game, but obviously the D's overran the Swans convincingly to win that one by 50. And then for the Freo v West Coast game, I said that West Coast would lead at 3/4 time, and I reckon they probably should have done that. They were only down by 8. I was cheering them on my stream, but they just couldn't quite get over the line for my third big call. So I have 2 again, and we'll go through to see which one got the most likes. I know people are going to be wondering, where's the last one? You said you get the letter one out, and quite frankly, time got the better of me, and I didn't end up finding the time to do so. But I think next week we could get 2 punishments done, because the most likes for this round was from AFL What If. He got 168, and that was to go to a footy game covered in Melbourne Renegades merch, and each time a player gets a mark, yell, "How's that?" I could do this at the Good Friday game this week because I'm heading there, but I'm not doing it for bloody every time there's a mark. I'll do a few instances. I'll make it funny. I'll turn it into some sort of a video that you guys can check out for the next tipping comp. If anyone watching this is going to the Good Friday game and has some Renegades merch, hit me up. You know, we'll get something sorted. We'll try and get the 2 punishments done for next week's tipping competition. But anyways, you guys clicked on this video for one reason and one reason only, and that is to see my round 4 AFL tips and predictions. And let's just hope, fingers crossed, that I can improve on my tipping game in this round, because I have had a pretty bad start. We start off with Brisbane and Collingwood at the Gabba, and what a contest this is set to be. The annual Easter Thursday game, you could say, and it's going to be a real cracker. The Lions, they were pretty poor against the Dogs, let's be real. They just couldn't get their footy going at all, and it was just a pretty difficult game to watch, to be honest. Neither side were too impressive, but particularly the Lions. I thought that eventually they'd get on top, but they never really did. They look good at home, but when they play away, there's a bit of a struggle for them, and there's a bit of doubt whether or not they're going to be able to really sustain that consistency this season. Whereas Collingwood, consistency is certainly not a problem for them, going 3-0 now, and really dominating every game they played in. Yes, that game against Richmond was only a 14-point win, but their inaccuracy let the Tigers in the game. I think there were 3 goals 10 at half time, and they were just dominant for pretty much all of the game. They cut off every time Richmond tried to go inside 50 and move the ball, either a sloppy kick from the Tigers or just going straight to a Collingwood player, and they would move the ball forward. De Goey had another really good game. He's proven to be one of the best players in the comp to start the season off, so it's a tough one because historically the Lions, they've been amazing at the Gabba, home and away. I think they've only lost 3 of their last 50 or whatever the stat may be, and I did back in the D's in round 2 and got that one wrong, thinking that they wouldn't be able to get the job done. So I'm really tempted to go the Lions here, but after not going for the Pies last week, I feel like I owe the Pies a bit of a tip here. I owe the Pies something after not backing them in last week. They're the best team in the competition at the moment, and I think they respectively deserve my tips, but I think Collingwood at their best is better than Brisbane at their best at the moment, which is why I'm going to be tipping the Pies to win this one by 17 points in a very good game of footy, with my big call that there will be 9 or more lead changes throughout the game. The next game, we've got the annual Good Friday clash, always between North and Melbourne, but this time Carlton get the chance to play the Good Friday time slot fixture at 4:20 PM at Marvel, and this could be an interesting game of footy. You never know. This is a real test to see when North Melbourne are at. Like, obviously, they started like a house on fire 2-0, but a really disappointing outing last week against Hawthorn, which they really should have won. Let's be real, Hawthorn, I still think, are the worst side in the league. Pretty disappointing last week, but I think they'll bounce back and have a competitive outing here. Carlton, they're undefeated, but they're not playing their best footy, which I guess is a good sign for them to start off, not the best, but still be, getting in these results, particularly the close ones where they're not normally capable of. They were pretty average, to be fair, for a lot of the game. I mean, scoring 9 goals, 20. Mackay, Silvani haven't really been, at their best yet. Obviously, Cripps with a massive game last week with 42, and Nick Newman was able to hold down Green very well, only getting him to 5 touches, which I think was a record low. So I think the Blues, at Marvel, they're a really good side, and they proved to be last year, only dropping the 1 game. Against North Melbourne, you never know. We could see a competitive outing, and I think we will. I think they're going to be better side on the Clarko. I'm not sure if they'll have Davis Uniacke back. If they do, then I think they'll be a better side. But I think Carlton, you can't really be tipping against them in this one. They won't smash, though. I think it'll be a fairly good game, but they'll get the competitive win, and I think they'll win it by 27 points. My big call, the Blues score 5 more behinds and goals. The Saturday games kickstart round 4, and we've got Adelaide taking on Freo at the Adelaide Oval. Now, this is a really interesting clash for sure, because obviously the Crows, they're very, very good at home from the 2 games they played. The forwards were finally potent, Ranky kicking 4, Phil Thorpe kicking 5 on the shot, and they were just really impressive. They had a really good game. I really do think the Crows are going to be a fairly good side this year, and will win more games at Adelaide Oval than not. Fremantle, on the other hand, I don't think I'm yet convinced on them. Like, they got the win in the Derby, but they weren't, amazing. They weren't like anything too special. It was just that West Coast are a bottom 4 side, and quite frankly, they were just unlucky that they were ravaged with so many injuries. I think in the third quarter, West Coast should have been on top. Like, they were the better side for most of the game. They just ran out of legs in that one, and it's confidence though. You got to pick up those wins, and a win by 40 will give them the confidence. But away from home against Adelaide, I just think, at the moment, the better side this year, the side that's impressed me more has been the Crows, and playing at home, they're going to be tough to stop, and if they can get off that flyer start and, sustain that accuracy that they were able to do on the show, I think they should win this game, and I'm going to go the Crows to win this one by 14 points, and a big call, the Crows to kick 5 or more consecutive goals at any stage throughout the game. The next game at the MCG, we have Richmond taking on the Western Bulldogs. And now, if this game was played after round 2, I think we all know who we'd tip here, obviously. However, since then, the Bulldogs picked up a win, and the Tigers picked up a poor loss. And it was a must-win game, honestly, for the Dogs, to be honest, because if you start 0-3, it's really, really difficult to, get back into the season and actually make the finals. And You know, they just needed some sort of response, some sort of spirit shown, and we got that against the Lions. It wasn't the most convincing game from either side, but the Dogs just, you know, were able to stay in the contest, led by Marcus Bontempelli having a great game. And Ugle-Hagan, you know, after the week that he had, it's very, very commendable performance, kicking the 5 goals and having a stand against Race Simi, kicked 5 and was there. The key player really in that game, him and Bontempelli. I still don't know about the other forwards. They're still not quite working. Richmond, question marks also to the Tigers. I think they'll be a good side this year, but they're going to ease into the season. They're going to have a slow start. And yeah, they were very disappointing actually last week, to be honest. Their skills, just everything about them. And they only had one good patch at the start of the third quarter and a bit of a patch in the last, but aside from that, Collingwood the far better side. It's at the MCG. You'd think Richmond win this game and bounce back. However, the Tigers still have a few outs. The Dogs, with a bit of confidence, I reckon that confidence, they're going to take that on next week, and in this one, I think they're going to actually get the win. I'm going an upset. I think Bulldogs have their best game of the season. They actually play some proper good footy and get a nice 20-point win over the Tigers. With my big call, also similar to my tip, the Dogs lead by 20 or more points at any stage throughout the game. We're going with an upset there. The next game, we've got St Kilda taking on the Gold Coast Suns at Marvel Stadium. Who would have believed the St Kilda Saints would start the season on top of the ladder, undefeated, the only side undefeated alongside the Pies and the Blues, and we could quite easily go 4-0 and be the only side to go undefeated after round 4, and imagine if that happens, and we probably should, to be honest. I mean, again, we got off to that fast start that I expected that would occur. We started the game off with the first 5 goals. We were 34-0 at one stage. Obviously, I was expecting the Bombers to get back in the game and fight back, which they did. Just like we did against Freo in round 1, we remained tight, we remained stuck to our process and kicked like the last 5 goals of the game, or 5 in a row to put the game to bed, which shows that we can also run out games this season, which is really good to see. The Suns got a very, very nice win against the reigning premiers and the Cats. We'll talk more about them later in this video, but the Suns, very, very impressive win. Matty Rao had a good game in David Swallow's 200th. The coach is kicking 5. They just, used the ball a lot better than the Cats and probably should have won the game by more. They, were quite inaccurate, particularly I think in that third, they kicked 1 goal 6. So I don't know if it says more about the Cats and the Suns, that performance, but I'm still not yet convinced on the Suns because, they, here and there they do have those good wins, but they're just unable to consistently string good wins together. Against the Saints, their last 5 games against the Saints have all been losses. The Saints have had the wood over the Suns, and I think at Marvel, the Suns don't play great at Marvel. I don't care about the Gold Coast Crips. They're not going to get the Suns over the line on this one. I don't think the Saints should go 4-0, and I'm going to tip us to win the game by 22 points with my big call. Mateus Philippou and Jack Higgins combined for 6 or more goals. The next game on the Saturday night, we've got the Sydney Swans taking on Port Adelaide at the SCG. Now, I want to quickly have a look at the recent form guide, and I'm actually quite surprised. Port have had the last 5 wins against the Swans, so they've had the wood over the Swans, but the odds don't suggest that. It's $1.35 to $3.20. And on the weekend, both sides suffered some pretty poor losses, particularly the Power, because the Swans game, they were in it for a lot of it, and if it wasn't for their bad kicking, they probably, could have found a way to win it. It was just that they just got outclassed at the end. Their defence fell apart, and they just leaked a lot of goals, because it was actually a good contest for a lot of it, particularly in that third quarter. Whereas the Power, again, a good contest for majority of the game, 3.5 quarters. It was a close game. Either side could have won it, but the Crows, they just, they kicked like the last 5 or 6 of the game. They just ran away with it, really, and it was really concerning for Port Adelaide because, a lot of players are just underperforming for Port Adelaide in the defence, such as Aaliyah, Burn-Jones, especially Tom Jonas. So, question marks for Port Adelaide, their defence, and just the fact that they just managed to leak goals so quickly in quick succession. Against the Swans at the SCG, surely they don't lose this, Sydney. I think they're a much better side than Port Adelaide. They're a more convincing side. I could see a Port Adelaide, response. You never know. They obviously beat Brisbane early in the season, but there are real question marks now on the Power after their really good start. 2 bad losses in a row, to be honest with you. I don't think recent form should matter in this one. I'm going to go the Swans to win it by 30 points with my big call that the Swans kick 5 or more goals in the first quarter. 3 more games to go, and we've got 2 on the Sunday. The first on the Easter Sunday, actually. I forget that it's Easter coming up very soon. Essendon take on the Giants at Marvel Stadium. Both sides lost on the weekend, but I would say both sides were fairly respectable in the way they played. For the Bombers, apart from the first quarter and at one stage in the last, they were in the game, and they were certainly, at stages the better side over the Saints, and they got back into the contest after being down by as much as 34. They were level at the start of the last, and I thought they were going to actually run over the top of the Saints. Jai Caldwell kicked 2 freakish goals. Players such as Andrew McGrath had a good game. Obviously, Parrish and Merritt doing their bits. Dylan Shield but they just weren't able to get the job done. I think the Saints were just the classier side at the end. But I don't think Essendon, they're going to lose too many fans after that performance. Just that poor start, they can fix up maybe their consistency throughout games. The Giants, on the other hand, well, they were, I thought they were actually all right. Didn't watch any of the game, but, the fact that they were able to stay with the Blues for pretty much all game and only lose it by 10 points shows that they're going to be a bit more of a competitive side this year. They're not going to just allow sides to just completely dominate them this season, even though the Blues were inaccurate. So were the Giants, and I feel like the Giants could have won the game if it wasn't for that dissent call, which really changed the game, because at the time the Giants were in front with like 6 minutes to go, and Cornelia just put his hands in the air saying, "Oh, how's that a free kick?" That shouldn't have been a bloody 50-metre penalty for dissent. I think it's pretty soft. They got to crack down on that if that's actually a rule. Be more consistent with it, but it shouldn't be a rule. I'm going to go Essendon win it, though, by 10 points. My big call, Parrish and Merritt combined for 67 or more touches. I better hope those two guys are playing. The next game on the Sunday, we've got West Coast and Melbourne at Optus Stadium. Now, the Eagles, I didn't think they were that bad against the Dockers on the weekend. If anything, I thought they were almost at times the better side, but the Dockers just proved to be the better side overall and, ran out the game a lot better. Very disappointing game, though, for West Coast on the injury front. I think they had 6 injuries that game. Witherden, Ryan, Shuey, McGovern, just to name a few. And it wasn't just like, fringe plays. They were actually genuine stars for them, which is a concern for West Coast. It's a bit of deja vu from last season. So I'm not sure what they're going to do in this game, but it doesn't lead me to believe that they'll be any better than what they were last week when they're coming up against a side in the D's who had a really, really good performance on the weekend and probably solidified their claim as the next best side behind the Pies, and arguably for some premiership favourites. They dominated the Swans for most of the game. They led by over 5 goals at quarter time, and that last quarter, I think they kicked 6 or 7 goals. Van Rooyen in his debut kicking 3. They just had, a lot of contributors. Cade Chandler was another example of one that just bobbed up and scored goals, and I just thought they overall had a very consistent performance. To win it by 50 points against a team like Sydney, you got to be pretty happy with that. They're now playing a poorer opposition in the Eagles. I still think the Eagles will give it to them. I don't think the Eagles are going to drop their heads. They're going to play as well as they possibly can, but the difference in classiness between the two sides is pretty obvious. So because of that, I think Melbourne win it pretty easily by 46 points. My big call, West Coast failed to register 50 or more. And the last game of the round, the Easter Monday clash. This is going to be really interesting. They call it the Harley Reid Cup. The two sides on the bottom of the ladder, 17th and 18th. Can you believe the Cats, after winning the premiership last year, the only side yet to win a game after round 3? Genuinely, no one would have predicted that. Even after their start, of all the sides they could be playing after round 3, Hawthorn probably be that one side they could almost pencil in a win, although I'm not going to discredit the Hawks too much. They had a good win against North Melbourne last week, and goes to show that if at their best and when they want to, they can pick up these results, especially against the side in North Melbourne who had a lot of form. But Geelong, you would just surely they get the win. They just look so off, though, from their campaign in 2023. To be honest with you, their whole list, besides probably Cameron, has gotten worse. I feel like for the Cats, the whole saying, too old, too slow, is actually coming to fruition now for them, because they just seem sluggish. They seem out of it in their first 3 rounds, particularly against the Suns, though. It was probably I didn't watch much of the game, but for the times that I did watch it, they just couldn't get anything going. Their skill, their ball use, just everything about it seemed sluggish, off the pace, and a lot of passengers in that game, particularly the players I mentioned in my big call earlier on. Finals is now in doubt, but you would think that they get the job done in this one. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, though. Geelong are far from it from what they were in 2023, and they're going to take a few weeks if they're going to start betting the wins to build into this season. Hawthorn, I think they will play a good brand of footy, particularly Easter Monday. They always take it up to Geelong. It's never normally a smashing in these ones. Hawthorn, they're still the worst side in the comp, in my opinion, so I'm going to go the Cats to win it. They can't lose this game. I will be actually really shocked if they do. I'm going the Cats by 33. However, my big call, the Hawks are in the lead at any stage in the second half. So I'll quickly review my round 4 tips. I went the Pies, the Blues, the Crows, the Dogs, the Saints, the Swans, the Bombers, the D's, and the Cats. I placed 711th out of my competition of 892. I only scored 3. And the best performer that round was ESPN Tipping Master. We had 7 people get a score of 7. Mr. Boxer, Kev's Magpies, 2 Litre Peter, Javid Zargoon, Cody Waitman, and FJ, all with 7s. And then when we have a look at the overall leaders, just like last week, Dano for the win, starting off like a house on fire with a score of 21. Gabe for ball in second with 20. Jay the God A Tosi also with 20. And then the people with 19 quickly, we got Flexi, Logic, Eastpin Tipping Master, Kev's Magpies, and Joel is fine. Let's get to 1,000 members before the end of the week. The link is updated now, the new one, so it's down below. But anyways, guys, those are my tips and predictions for round 4. If you guys are new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button for more tipping videos, more AFL content in general. Leave a like, subscribe as I said before, and leave a comment down below for a tipping punishment. And we'll see you soon in the next video. Have a good one.